Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this Mimecast technical workshop. My name is Raafat Kastoun, and along with my colleague Hany Nasr, we will be taking you today through our Mimecast session, Beyond the Perimeter, the Need for Pervasive Email Security. So let's start with the role of disruption. Technology continues to evolve in ways we could have never imagined, and is now a major part in our personal and professional lives, and will become even more omnipresent with every new advancement. While technology creates many efficiencies and opportunities, it also increases risk. With every innovation comes a new level of risk. Attack vectors constantly changing, and all it takes is a single cyber incident to devastate a company or take down a city. In fact, technology is at the center of today's business disruption triangle. So the triangle is comprised of three things. One is dependency on our own technology and systems, interdependency on other organizations' technologies and systems, and increasing industry regulations, which is intended to protect the data residing within these technologies. So if we talk a bit about dependency, most business operations are now dependent on digital technology and systems. When one goes down, it can result in loss of productivity and revenue. Interdependency. Each organization has invested to connect its internal systems, but in order to streamline business processes, these organizations are also connecting to their partners, to their supply chain, through a connected digital ecosystem. One organization's weakness can quickly have consequences on the entire supply chain. And finally, industry regulation. As digital transformation progresses, so does the number of sophisticated threats. Much cybersecurity regulation these days is intended to secure the data. If you're a victim of a cyber attack and your customer data is exposed, you will be hit with a significant fine. So the triple threat here is, first of all, human error. Attackers will go after the weakest link every time. They know that you have a great, probably, email security solution, you have a great perimeter and a great firewall, but nothing can give you the 100% protection. And humans is the weakest link in your organization. Attackers would go after them. Malicious acts. This is always, attackers are out there, they are looking for an opportunity to make money, and as security evolves, so that the attackers' ways. They are constantly evolving to beat your, you as an organization, to beat your security strategy. And finally, failures do happen. Disasters do happen, and technology is not perfect. So how did the threat landscape evolve? Basically, disruption is a real thing. Most of the news points to malicious payloads, given the rise of ransomware, impersonation attacks, and so on. However, hackers have grown wise to the defenses, and they've turned their attention to your weakest link, which is human error, and even beyond your perimeter. They went and attacked your brand, your domain, because this is something out of your control, out of your perimeter, and it's much easier to attack these. So think about it in terms of attack vectors. You have your traditional email security perimeter. That's still there. It is established, and it's there to secure your company email from spam, from malicious payloads, from target threats that comes on your email perimeter. We have inside the perimeter the new threats that have emerged, including data leaks, human errors, and the outbreak of a spam or an attack internally spreading inside your organization. And finally, beyond your perimeter. This is where outside your organization and beyond the email security perimeter that protects you. Hackers have gone beyond your brand, after your brand, they went after your domain, and they want to take advantage that most customers, they do not have the visibility or the intelligence to spot the threats and defend against attacks beyond the perimeter. Across the ecosystem, customers are lacking the ability to gain insights or guidance on how to address these security concerns. So from Mimecast, we are moving beyond the perimeter. We are no longer looking at just email to be a gateway type of solution. It's more now of a pervasive email security, looking at the perimeter, inside your network, and beyond your perimeter. In the same manner, the history of Mimecast email security has taken at least 3 different versions or iterations. Version 1 was back in 1988, where we were focusing on hygiene, antivirus, anti-spam, the email security type of solution, and any new forms of malwares and spamming technology. In 2014, attackers have shifted their attacks and they went into more advanced type of things. So now we're looking at ransomware, exploit kit, phish kits, business email compromise, and so on. And finally, this year, the attackers have went beyond the traditional perimeter. And we have also went there. We are extending the protection to protect your brand, to protect your domain from being used out in the wild by attackers. So attack at the perimeter, you still have the malicious payloads. And this is fueled by as-a-service platforms. Anyone can go now, buy a phish kit for a few dollars, or launch an attack these days. FBI has estimated that $26 billion of attacks damages have been done due to business email compromise attacks back in 2016 to 2019. More so, phishing attacks are constantly rising. More than 200 unique Office 365 phishing URL is created per day. And this is targeted at your users, at your organization, get them to harvest their credential and be able to steal their usernames and password. Inside the network and organization, this is where human errors comes in. 86% of threats and data leaks start with an employee. It can be a non-aware user or a malicious user. We want to be able to measure your employee risk score, and we want to stop your users from moving laterally. In case something happens in your organization, how do I stop it in its tracks? How do I make sure that one user would not infect another inside your organization? And finally, beyond the perimeter. This is where attackers go beyond your brand, beyond your domain. A lot of almost 90% of the people have experienced some kind of spoofing, attackers spoofing their domain, or even hijacking their domain completely out there. 80,000 phishing sites have been created between just July and September 2019. And these phishing sites, their main target is to harvest your credentials. So email security 3.0 for Mimecast represents a new approach, and it extends beyond the perimeter. You still have your established perimeter, your traditional one, and it's the focus. This is where we focus on the gateway, on the secure email there, the web gateway, advanced threat protection, and data leakage prevention. Inside the perimeter, our IEP, or internal email protection, ensures that your employees are not trafficking malicious code inside your network or organization. And if they are, we would be able to quarantine and remediate any threats immediately. And lastly, human error is the #1 cause for attacks. And security awareness training offered by Mimecast has proven to keep your employees safe and engaged by providing 5 times more effective human firewall than untrained users. Beyond the perimeter, Mimecast offers the ability to do proactive threat hunting, to gain insight into the security posture of your organization, and build protection to protect your brand, prevent your domain from being hijacked. Finally, our rich API strategy ensures that we can support and extend customers' security investment by building hooks into the rest of the security ecosystem. So we want to think beyond the perimeter again. We are moving from a perimeter-based email security to a more pervasive email security. So let's start with the perimeter. Given that more than 90% of your attacks start with email, you should invest in the best possible protection at your email gateway or perimeter. You cannot rely on just good enough security that's bundled with your existing email platform, for example, and hoping that other controls in your network, like your firewall or EDR, would catch everything that might fail to block on your gateway. Your secure email gateway should be your first line of defense, where you should block the most and as many threats as possible, away from your network and users. So in Mimecast, the first line of defense is our core detection. We receive around 2.5 billion emails daily, and almost half of them get rejected at the core. This is including spam, advanced threats, as well as basic signature. We typically reject around 45%, and this almost halves the number of emails that go into further inspection. On another layer, we consume a huge amount of data. This is our threat labs, our third-party feeds and detection, and around 40,000 customers reporting threats back to us, to our Mimecast SOC team that analyzes all this data and push this data back to our core detection. We leverage our machine learning where appropriate to complement our detection. For example, against third-party feeds and submission by customers, we can proactively identify unseen attacks. So once the core detection is done, we move to the enhanced filtering. These are further policies and security checks configured by our customers that can include reputational intelligence, anti-spoofing type of policies, and we reject around 33% of these attacks and emails here. The remaining 23% go to the advanced protection. This is where we take it into a deeper level inspections, advanced detection, target threat protection. This is where we quarantine spam and suspicious emails for administrators and users to make decisions on. And this is a fully integrated solution. Once an emerging threat is identified, the intelligence is instantly pushed back to the core detection so that the new threats are identified and detected and stopped earlier in the chain. Let's start with the attachment protection. First of all, we determine whether this might be a dangerous file type, and we can apply a customer block or allow policies to it. Is the customer blocking, I don't know, exe files, macros, etc. And then we decide to block it or allow it there. Once this layer is done, we move into the next layer. And this is where we take the attachment and inspect it in a number of anti-malware engines, our own Maverick AV check or third-party commercial AV engines checks. And then we can determine based on the signature if this is a malicious or safe file. Once this is done, we move to the next layer, which is where we analyze we do a static file analysis in just milliseconds, and we can determine if the file is safe or not. If this is not yet confirmed, we finally move the file to a full hardware emulation sandbox. Attachments are treated through the same rigorous checks, but in addition, customers can opt to disarm the content, reconstruct the file, convert it to 100% a safe file, and deliver it immediately to the users. So for example, an HR team might be receiving a lot of Word files that may not be dangerous, but the customers decide, you know what, I'm gonna make sure to convert every Word file coming in into a safe PDF file and deliver it immediately to the users. These are 100% safe, disarmed, reconstructed, and nothing malicious can run on these files. The URL protection. So the availability of phishing kits, phish kits, and phishing as a service has made phishing very common these days. It even takes a non-technical cyber criminal to launch a phishing attack. So even as low as less than $100, you can purchase a phish kit and use it to launch an attack at a specific organization and evade detection. Around 200,000 domains are registered every day, and 70% of these domains are either malicious or suspicious. So it's impossible for any provider and security provider to track these phishing websites. What Mimecast URL Protection does is we check the URL when we first receive the email and every time the users click on it. So once we receive an email, we go through a pre-click check. Do we know this website? Have we categorized it? Have we seen it before? And then we decide if it's safe or malicious. Once we deliver to the user, we have rewritten the email, the URL in the email, and every time the user clicks on it, we run a post-click check on this URL. So we run a deep web page analysis, anti-phish kits, advanced similarity checks, and other type of security stuff that we run on every URL. This overcomes the problem of sites being weaponized or compromised after the email has been scanned. So scanning it pre-delivery is not the solution. The site might be safe now, but can get compromised tomorrow or in a week. And the user would click on it and get phished. So we want to make sure that every time the user clicks on this URL, we can check it, we can decide if it's safe or not, and based on our analysis, allow the user to access this website or deny. The last part of the perimeter defense is the impersonation protection. Mimecast Impersonation Protect contains a set of features that look for specific indicators in an email message. These type of indicators are often used in threat actors crafting social engineering and business email compromise attacks. So we look into stuff like header anomalies, domain similarity, recency of the sending domain, sender spoofing, an email body content that looks suspicious, contains certain threat words, what we call in our threat dictionary words. To ensure that false positives do not impact the user experience, rather than just blocking the email or the suspicious messages, we can tag them with helpful information. So the recipient himself can determine whether these emails might be malicious or not. So we can take different level of actions based on different triggers in the emails. For example, we can stamp the email that have certain suspicious characteristic. We can hold the emails if we see, for example, 3 or more indicators. And this intelligence and monitoring is available in the dashboard for the administrator to go through them and decide to, release certain emails or block emails that are actually impersonation attacks. Let's move now to zone 2, or inside your network and organization. So this is where we can help strengthen your last line of defense, your users. Human error, again, is responsible for many successful attacks. And most commonly now, the account takeover. Users, they reuse their password across their personal and business account. Their cloud credentials can be phished, and malware can infect their computers or device, which eventually lead to a compromised email client. The upshot to this is malware and malicious files, links spreading laterally across your organization via email. So all you need is a curiosity and a click to let a malware in. In fact, over 90% of the cyber attacks start with a human error. So it's no wonder that over $1.5 billion is invested annually on security awareness training. However, 64% of employees are unenthusiastic about this training. Frankly, it is so boring if you talk to any end user. And this makes the challenge of keeping end user engaged and interested all the more important, because 97% of people around the world cannot identify a sophisticated phishing attack. So what Mimecast awareness training does, it turns the traditional training model on its head. So we do a highly engaging, funny micro-learnings. And these are done by a recurring cast of characters based on real-world scenarios. It will create empathy and understanding inside your organization. So each training module is basically comprised of a quick video, then a micro quiz and gamification to help your end users on their quest to obtain more knowledge. We found that end users who receive Mimecast awareness training are 5 times less likely to click on malicious training than those that do not attend the trainings. So the Mimecast awareness training also includes threat simulation, and this is integrated with the real threats. But this is what we call safe phish. So if you are using Mimecast Email Security Gateway with Mimecast awareness training, we can actually take phishing attacks that we've seen on your gateway, actual real phishing attacks that we've seen on your secure email gateway, de-weaponize them, and use them in phishing simulation using awareness training to measure really how your users are reacting to actual phishing attacks. It's very simple to implement. It doesn't require any resources from your end. It is automatically integrated with your training modules, and you can run custom tests to build and deploy across your organization. Of course, we also have a large template of phishing attacks that you can use, stuff like resetting your password or an Amazon shipment, and all of the common phishing attacks that we see in the wild. The end game of the awareness training is to measure your risk, your score. Who are my weakest links? Who are the weakest employees in my organizations? So what we do is we do objective measurements. We have across millions of data points. So we include sentiment, engagement, knowledge of your user, how much time are they clicking on phishing URLs, and all this adds up to score both your employees and your organization, and to help you identify your riskiest people. We want to see who is clicking on malicious links, who is opening these attachments, and we want to spend more resources on them. We want to send them more training, make sure they become more aware on the security threats out there. Awareness training is an effective security process control, but it's not 100% effective, similar to any other process or technology. A survey found that almost 70% of the organization have suffered an attack where malicious activity was spread internally from one infected user to the other. It's spread laterally inside your organization. So what we introduced is Mimecast Internal Email Protect. And this job is to mitigate the risk of all internal attacks. So we apply the same inspection levels and capabilities that we do on incoming emails, we apply them on internal emails. So we do all the target threat protection, which include malicious links, zero-day attacks, attachments, and so on. We run them through the same rigorous checks. So IEP gives you visibility of all your internal email threats and helps you identify rogue sending accounts, which helps you mitigate the risk associated with email account takeover. We continually monitor your internal and outbound traffic using the latest threat intelligence to make sure if there is any latent threat in your user inbox, we can automatically remove it. We give you a full incident investigation and response tools so that your security analyst can decide to automatically remove a malicious attack from a user inbox or manually remove it from every mailbox across your organization. This doesn't require any implementation on-prem, any PowerShell scripts. This is an automatic process that can help clean up and do incident response inside your users' mailboxes. But we want to also apply the same level of protection on your outbound traffic. We want to make sure that if you have any infected users internally, this user is not going to spread malicious stuff to your external partners, to your supply chain, to your partners. And all outbound emails routed through Mimecast will be going through the same protection level. So we will run it through the same attachment protection and sandboxing, the URL scans, and all the advanced email protection that we do on the email, on the incoming traffic will be applied to your outgoing traffic. So now let's look at zone 3, or beyond your perimeter. The attacks here are basically brand impersonation attacks that exploit your good name to compromise customers, partners, and your supply chain. They destroy trust, they are extremely difficult to uncover, and they are even harder to shut down. And unfortunately, they're all too easy for cyber criminals to create. These types of beyond the perimeters attack fall into two main categories. One is domain spoofing. Attackers would send emails by spoofing your own domain. They will send email from your actual domain, spoofing your users or your external supply chain and partners. Brand exploit, this is where attackers will mimic your website. They will usually mimic a login page to steal your credential and using your brand as bait. Even unsophisticated attackers can simply register similar domain and host websites designed to trick visitors and damaging your brand equity that might have taken you years or decades to build. So protecting your organization from brand abuse is the foundation of email security strategy in zone 3, beyond the perimeter. Essential steps include implementing DMARC to protect your domain, the domains you own, and doing hunting and remediation that relied on fraudulent and lookalike domains. So let's start with DMARC. DMARC basically helps you against phishing attacks targeting your employees, your customer, your supply chain, where attackers spoof your domain to send emails that look like it coming from your trusted brand. DMARC combines two existing email protocols I'm sure you're familiar with, which are the SPF or Sender Policy Framework and DKIM or Domain Key Identified Email. These two protocols create some kind of handshake between the legitimate mail server to validate that this sender is truly a valid sender and can send email from my domain. DMARC will help you basically monitor your domain, get visibility on who's sending emails on your behalf, and identify legitimate senders. You probably have your own users, your mail server, your Office 365, for example, and these are sending emails on your behalf. You might also have some legitimate spoofing. So you have your marketing company, your CRM tool, MailChimp, Salesforce, and other tools that use your domain to send emails. And these are legitimate senders as well. But you also have malicious actors that are impersonating your domain. And we want to make sure these actors and these attackers' emails are rejected by the recipients. We cannot allow anyone outside of our legitimate senders to send emails on behalf of the organization. So Mimecast DMARC Analyzer is the tool to help you through this DMARC journey. It's basically designed to make it simpler and faster to set up and move across your DMARC journey to get to the reject phase. It gives you full visibility, reporting on who is sending emails on your behalf, so complete governance on all your email channels. The end game here is to make sure that you're sending emails on behalf of you, the legitimate senders are validated, and you reject all invalid or unauthenticated senders. So it's an easy to use, full SaaS solution. It gives you full visibility and governance across all your email channel. You can have self-service tools to implement DMARC policy on the gateway with full alerting and reporting, but we can offer you also full managed services. So Mimecast comes in, helps you through this journey, validates your senders, helps you configure your SPF, DKIM records, and get to the reject phase where attackers' emails would be rejected. So let's look at a typical phishing attack. A typical phishing attack starts with an attacker identifying their target. They will then build a phishing site using cloned content from the target's website or by standing up a lookalike page on a lookalike domain. Once this is done, he will start delivering phishing emails to his target. These targets will click on the link, land on the phishing website where their credentials will be harvested and stolen. Existing security tools will only see this type of attack once it's live and starting to send phishing emails. And at this stage, the damage is done and it's a bit too late. The email attacks is already out there. Your users or your user credential are already with the attackers. So introducing Mimecast Brand Exploit Protect. Mimecast BEP focuses on early proactive detection, specifically designed to find and stop phishing attacks at the earliest stages. We can know once a user has registered a similar domain or once he copied the contents of your existing website. It's basically comprised of 3 core elements that helps you protect your brand in Zone 3. First of all, you have proactive intelligence. These are highly targeted scanning using artificial intelligence, machine learning to rapidly identify lookalike domain designed to deceive and steal data or money. We also have a threat detection agent, which instantly uncovers where your website has been scraped, cloned, and hosted on any domain. It might be a lookalike or not a lookalike domain. And finally, remediation. We ensure to take effective and immediate action to stop the attack and minimize the damage caused. So effectively protecting against brand exploits mean you need to find and neutralize phishing attacks before they are unleashed. be able to protect external third parties like your customers and suppliers, as well as your organization and employees. So BEP extends your phishing protection beyond your perimeter. It can uncover these attacks and detect them at the earliest stages. Its core capabilities include brand monitoring, where we cover a broad coverage of lookalike domains using advanced similarity scanning. We also offer remediation, which is an in-house rapid block and takedown of these suspicious websites. Non-brand monitoring, we have the web agent that is used to detect a site using your cloned or scraped content. It's a fully managed services. Think about it as an extension to your SOC team. It's part of the service itself. Brand Exploit Protect is a fully managed services from end to end. We detect the attack, we take it down, and we report it back to you, and we take it down ourselves. Nothing has to be done from your security analyst team. So again, BEP focuses on the threat beyond your perimeter. They found them quickly and early in the threat cycle. It is fully integrated with your Mimecast email and web security, so you can instantly create a policy to block emails coming from these websites and any links, clicks to these sites themselves. So let's talk a bit about threat intelligence. Security professionals these days are tasked with mitigating and reducing risk within their organization. So deriving these insights from a massive pool of data available to them is a daunting task. What they need is information specific to their environment, how they're being targeted, what threats have been blocked and why, and an ability to benchmark against other organizations. And this is what we do with Mimecast Threat Intelligence. It is designed with those needs in mind. Our service provides threat data, analytics specific to our customer organization, either through an intuitive web-based dashboard or via the Mimecast API threat feed. So these IOCs are constantly fed back to the customers via a portal, via a report, via an API, via dashboard, and you can ingest them through API to your existing security ecosystem. So most customers these days, they have a challenge, which is a complex security ecosystem. And Mimecast is one of the many platforms that protect your organization. And you can have a different type of solution on your firewall, on your perimeter, on your endpoint, as a SIM solution, and so on. So to maximize the effectiveness of your security ecosystems, different vectors must be able to share threat data, automate crucial tasks, and respond to threat across your organization in real time. This is where Mimecast API integration with your SIM solution, with your source, with your endpoints, with your ITSM come into play. And because these are powered by our API, we can continue to integrate and expand capabilities to fit your purpose-built security ecosystem. So thank you for being with us today in this session. We will now move to my colleague Hany to go through a demo on the stuff we've just seen on the presentation. Thank you.
Welcome, everyone. What we're going to be showing you today is a demo of a life cycle of an attack. It all starts with this phishing email that I received. If you can look closely, you can see that it came from a domain that looks like my real domain. So it came from 228.co instead of coming from 228.com. The email itself follows the COVID pandemic, which is a real life scenario that we're all facing in now. And this specific one talks around how the organization is helping staff build up a home office in attempt to get the user to be interested in clicking this. Now, right off the bat here, you can see that we have tagged the message with a few indicators to make it a little bit more visible for them. As a start, you can see this very big red bar in the beginning saying that this is a suspicious message. From the subject line, we've tagged this as a suspicious message. And again, in the message body, we've tagged this to be an external message, and we highlight to the user who the sender was, the actual email address. This will all be visible. It doesn't matter if he's using his Outlook or his mobile. So this is an attempt to visually tell the user that there's something different about this message. Now, as a user, I went ahead and I still didn't notice all of that, and I clicked that link. You see that we again ask the user, do you want to open the suspicious message? But then again, the user doesn't really read the messages, and he clicks on open. What the user sees now is an email security training. This is an integral part of the service where we can now show the user that the link that they clicked, the subject, the message sender again, and the email address it came from. The user clicks it safe, and what we do now is that we block the access to the user. So we still offer the protection. However, in this case, we don't miss a teachable moment. So we tell him, sorry, this link was harmful. And again, we show him a bit of safety tips that he can then read and scroll through. This is all being audited for or tracked for auditing purposes that both the administrators can see and the report on the user's behavior. Now, in this particular case, even though we've done all of that, the user is still wanting to gain access to that link. So what he does now is that he forwards that to his Gmail address. Now, again, he receives that message from himself in the Gmail in attempt to bypass the security and gain access to this. And he, again, clicks on the same link, which is now outside of the corporate email security. The moment he clicks that link, now he is being blocked by the Mimecast web security. And this is a powerful offering because what it does is that not only do we protect the both of the bigger vectors of attack, but we share the intelligence between both the email security and the web security, same policies, same reporting interfaces, so the administrators don't have to look at different screens. Now, I want to go back and pivot a little bit as the security analyst. From our SIM solution, I was able to track all of the messages that came, or rather came and included that link in it. This is possible because of the one of the many API integrations that we have, and in this case, it is Splunk. And I can see that the message with this exact link was received by several users. Now, as an administrator, I want to be able to take corrective actions towards this. So if I go into the Mimecast administration console and looking at this specific message, I can see that there's a lot of people that received this specific email, and this now offers me the ability to actually remove those messages from the user's mailboxes. This now gives me the ability to take a remediative action towards this. Now, most of the organizations would actually end their investigation and their remediation over here. However, I want to take this one step further and help the organization understand that risk from a domain perspective. As you can see here, this specific attacker used my domain, and he might be trying to send that either to my users, to my vendors, or to my customers. This is now the role where the Mimecast Brand Exploit Protect comes in play. This is another offering that we do to allow the organizations to foresee any domains that are being registered out there in the wild that includes their brand or domain. And in this case, I can see again that this domain is highlighted here with that specific link. What I can get from this is additional information on that specific domain. Now, this could be something that I'm doing before I receive this or after I receive that. It, however, gives me the ability to see what kind of domains are registered out there. In this case, I can see the 228.co. One of the very first things that we do is keep alive screenshots of that domain as it changes. So as of today, you can see that this is an active URL that has a login, email, and password. If I jump back in time, you can see that now the whole username and password part has disappeared. And that's primarily could indicate that the website was still being built. And if I go back furthermore, I can see that this site wasn't active. Now, in terms of the controls and the integrated experience of Mimecast, from here I can also block that either sending domain. So from an email perspective, if that domain would send to my organization, those emails would be blocked. In addition to block, again, the URLs that either goes to the entire domain or to that specific URL that we've seen. One more thing you can see here is the DNS records that has been registered to that domain. And again, we keep historical snapshots of that, so you can always see that how the DNS records changed. Now that you've gained all of that control and protected yourself, what we normally would allow the organizations to do through that brand exploit protection is to request a takedown. And this is really to engage Mimecast security analysts into initiating that takedown request on behalf. We can also submit fake data if the website did collect usernames and passwords, such as the one that you've just seen. So this really gives the organization control not only to the systems that they own, but also a protection of what they don't own out there from a domain perspective. Now, if we track this back a little bit, we see that the main issue here was the actual user. The user himself was very adamant into getting into that link, ignoring all of the security controls and warnings that we've put forward. This is now where the user awareness training comes in play. And that's really one of the key elements that the organizations nowadays take a look at, where they want to increase the user's knowledge to avoid these actions in the first place. Now, Mimecast specifically focuses on delivering this via the humor or in a humorous manner. This increases the engagement of the users, makes them want to watch the security events. And we cover a lot of modules that organizations would normally choose to or choose from data in motion, DevSecOps, info protection, office hygiene, passwords, phishing, and all of that. So not only can I train users, but I can also engage in a phishing campaigns with them. We've got a lot of templates that the organization can choose from, and you can also build a custom template. And in this example, this is one of the messages that I've built in order to engage the users into simulated phishing. I can also launch this as campaigns toward the users, where I can now see all of the results of that. I can see who clicked on those links, how long did it take them, and if they watched previous videos on that as well. Now that all of the testing is done, you can always report on the individual performance of the users from the number of videos that they haven't been watching, how they were performing from getting the questions on right or wrong, in addition to seeing the individual risk score for my employees, which is ones that got very good all the way to bad reporting. Now, I hope that you found this useful. Again, this was a demo of the full life cycle of an attack. Please reach out to us in the Q&A session if you've got any additional questions. Thanks for listening in.